I'm going to talk about my delivery. I had a girl. She is absolutely beautiful. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is the first video I'm recording since I gave birth, and I am, 11 weeks postpartum? Yeah, okay, I feel like I'm shouting. I need to relax, because it's been a long time. So I think I'm like overly excited. Can we just give a round of applause for Joy, who did a blow dry and a trim on my hair? It has been a long time. My hair has been looking crazy, so I feel like it's looking good today. It's looking good. Okay, how you guys? How's everything going? Okay, this is going to be a long one. Let me just say that because I'm going to talk about my delivery. So the delivery of my second child, I had a girl. She is absolutely beautiful. I'm feeling so blessed, and I thought, okay, I've got like 30 minutes to spare today, so let me just quickly record this video and let's get into it. Okay, make sure you like and subscribe and share. Okay, so I just want to put a disclaimer out there first. This experience is not going to be your experience, in the name of Jesus. Okay, so I don't want you guys watching my videos thinking, I'm scared of getting pregnant or scared of having kids. This is not the point of the video. I'm just sharing with you my own story and what happened to me. Okay, and if you've seen my first pregnancy, that was an interesting delivery as well, but this one is believe it or not, even more interesting. Okay, so like I said, let's get into it. So I give birth, it's like second week of August. I go in for a C-section. It's a planned C-section, right? And so C-section goes fine. I mean, I know that they took a longer time to close me up, and because they said there were a lot of adhesions from my first C-section, which I had with my son. That was an emergency C-section, right? So that was fine. Go back to the room that I was staying in, the hospital room I'm staying in, and day one was fine. When babies are first born, they sleep a lot, like the first couple of days. So she slept, and I was very high on medication, and it was I was just in and out of sleep during most of the day. Now day two, they had to take my catheter out. Now catheter is this tube they put in through your urethra. So where you wee, basically, they put the tube in there so that you don't wet yourself, so that your urine just passes by itself, because obviously it'd be very messy during surgery and whatnot, right? So during the surgery, they put in a catheter. They're supposed to take it out 24 hours after you've given birth, right? Or after your surgery. So they take it out and you have a 6-hour window to pass urine. And I think you're supposed to pass urine like, 2 or 3 times or something, just to make sure your system is back functioning the way it should, okay? So they take my catheter out, and interesting enough, I can't wee for 6 hours. So, and obviously because of that, you're full. You can feel like you're full and you feel like you need to go to the toilet. So they put it back and let the urine pass, and they said, okay, you probably just need a bit more time for your body to kind of go back to normal, because they said there were a lot of adhesions and whatever when they went in. They actually told me that my stomach was plastered onto my uterus from my last C-section. That's a story for another day as to why that is, right? But apparently these things happen. And it's also about how the body heals. So when I say adhesions, you know how, is it adhesions? Yeah. Like scar tissue is what was on the inside from my last C-section. When I say adhesions, that's what I'm talking about. Anyway, now day 3, they're telling you need to walk around, you need to pass stool. So you need to poo and you need to wee. Well, they just put the wee thing on the back burner. I'm still wearing the catheter. So they say you need to poo. Now, poo is not coming. They give me lactulose, which is this drink thing you drink to help, you go. They give me suppositories. That doesn't work. I'm not able to poo. So it's almost like, what's going on? My system is kind of shut down. So by that evening, I remember I was breastfeeding and I felt like I was going to throw up. Like I was really nauseous. And at that point, they told me to stop eating because there is no avenue for the waste to go, because I'm not pooing. So basically I'm like filling up on all this stuff, and that's why I'm feeling sick. So they told me to stop eating, and hopefully the poo will come out by itself or whatever. Sorry, I know this was not really the purpose to talk about poo, but trust me, there's a lot to come. Anyway, I think on the 4th day they give me an enema, right, for me to poo. I still don't poo. So now this is when things start to go a little bit left, okay? So I wake up in the middle of the night or early morning and I'm feeling extremely bloated. And I remember the midwife coming in and saying, "Oh," she looked at the catheter bag, which collects the urine, and she was like, "This thing is really like the urine isn't coming through. You need to drink. You're not drinking enough water." I'm like, I think it was, I am drinking enough water that I don't understand. So I kept drinking. Now, obviously, I'm drinking all this water and I'm looking at the bag, and the bag is like got like a tiny bit of urine in it. And I'm just thinking, where is this water going? So at this point, I am bloated. And this is like next level trap twin. It's not even trap twin. I feel so, it's like almost like it's crushing my body. And you're in pain from your C-section scars because now the heavy duty medication they've given you is wearing off. And then there's now this like pressure on your body because you're not able to go to the toilet. I was in pain. So they did a scan. They checked my blood. What did they check? They checked to see what was going on as to why the urine wasn't coming out. Right. So they did a scan. They did a CT scan. They did an X-ray of my abdomen. And I'm telling you, when they did an X-ray, they had to move me onto a board to take me down to do the X-ray. And I don't know how to say it. The pain of the movement was so severe. I was literally screaming in the room, and everyone was like, "Oh, sorry. Anyway, they do that. They can't find anything. They look, they say, well, the bladder looks like it's fine. What's going on? Why isn't the urine coming out? 2 days prior, I forgot to say, there was actually blood in my urine. So they had to just, monitor that, make sure that everything was okay. So one of the midwives now said, we need to crack this thing because she's so uncomfortable. Let's find out what's going on. So they took the catheter out and then put a new one back in. And what happened was apparently like little bits of blood can get stuck and block the entry for the urine to pass. Anyway, they sort it out and I'm not able to, the urine passes into the bag. So I feel a little bit of relief there. So I'm thinking, okay, great. Day 4 or day 5 at this point is going to be fantastic, which was a Saturday the next day. And I was like, okay, I'm going to walk around, I'm going to get these bowels moving. I'm going to poo. It's going to be good. This is where the drama starts. The real drama. This is the cocoa of the story. Saturday morning, I wake up around 5 a.m. and I feel the best I've ever felt. I felt good. I said, yes, in 2 days' time, I'm going to be able to go home. That was not the case. So I wake up and the midwife comes in and I say, hey, I'm going to feed her. And then, will you be able to watch her so I can just walk around and, get the bowels moving and, everything's going to be good. She was like, yeah, sure. She was like, oh, you seem in high spirits. I was like, yeah, girl, I feel good. It's going to be good. And okay, so I feed her. And then my heart starts racing. And I'm like, that's strange. Whatever, don't think anything of it. Because when I was in my 3rd trimester, I would walk up the stairs, my heart would be pounding, and then it would calm down. So I just thought, okay. But obviously I've been lying in bed for hours. So I'm feeding her, and my heart is pounding, and it's racing. And it's like, I can feel it in my neck. I can feel it here. Like, and I'm thinking, So I finished feeding her. This is like 20 minutes, and my heart is still racing. So I press the bell by the bed. And a midwife comes in and I'm like, hi, I was going to do a little walk around, but I said, I don't know what's going on. My heart is racing. And what happens is when you have a baby, they check your blood pressure like throughout the day just to make sure everything's working okay and all that kind of stuff. So they checked my blood pressure, put the arm thing here and all that stuff. And she doesn't say anything. She leaves the room and she comes back with another person. And they check my blood pressure. And they don't say anything and they leave the room and they come back with a 3rd person. So obviously I'm sitting there thinking, is something wrong? I don't understand. Everyone's acting really weird. Anyway, so they bring in a doctor, not a midwife, and they say, so she tells me they use is it an echogram or something? So they put all these stickers on your body and it like reads what your heart is doing on this chart thing. I don't know how to explain it, like an echo. It's called an echogram, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Anyway, so they do that and they're like, And she's like, oh, wow, your heart rate is really high. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. I'm thinking it's going to go down, right? So anyway, she gives me something. She says I should blow in that and maybe that will help calm it down. Then she wants to come and take some blood. And she says, oh, can I take some blood? Because, she wanted to tap something in my arm or something. And then she goes, before we do a scan. And at this point, I'd been poked and prodded, with the epidural in my back, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, look, is it vital for you to poke me again? Because I'm tired of getting poked with all these needles, because if you're going to give me a scan anyway, and you're saying, no, I need to do this to see I'm going to give you a scan. If you're going to give me a scan anyway, just give me the scan. Like, if it's not dependent on this. So don't poke me. She was like, okay. No, she understands. It's so funny. I look back and I'm like, yeah, I said I was tired of all these needles. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how many needles I was going to get after this. Okay, so anyway, she checked something, and then it was now like in the space of 30 minutes. I'm not quite sure what happened, because my husband had gone to see our son at home and had come back that morning, and there was now like 8 people in the room, and my gynae, the lady who delivered the baby, came into the room and said, and I quote verbatim, well, she said to my husband, well, she said something to me and I didn't quite get it, and then she said to my husband, your wife is really sick and she's sicker than she looks, and we need her to leave now. There is an ambulance downstairs. And I'm like, who is she talking about? Who that? Like, what is she saying? I didn't understand what she was saying. And she was like, you're really sick. She was like, Marcy, you're really sick. Your heart rate is 210 or something. And I suppose it's supposed to be like 100 or something. I don't know. And she said, I'm worried that you're going to go into a coma or you're going to crash. Well, she said, you're going to crash. I'm worried you're going to crash. And this whole time, I'm just like, what does that mean? Because not that I felt great. I was like, I remember I had like a shortness of breath. I couldn't breathe properly. But I was just thinking, well, it's not that bad. So anyway, she says that. And I'm like, okay, fine, okay. So my husband is like, oh, it's okay. I'll just come in the ambulance with her to go to the hospital. And they were like, no, you can't go into the ambulance because of COVID. Yes, exactly. COVID is still around because of COVID. So I'm like, oh, okay, it's fine. I was like, okay, but the baby will come with me in the ambulance. And then the room goes quiet. And I'm like, what? They were like, she was like, the baby can't come with you. You're really sick. That you're going into intensive care. The ICU, intensive care units, that's where you're going. So I just start bawling. I just start crying. Because I'm like, my child is 3 days old. And it was so weird. I was just thinking about the weirdest thing. All I kept thinking was, I need to breastfeed her. That's what I kept thinking. How will she eat? I need to breastfeed her. And I'm one of those people. I'm like, breast is best. You must, I need to breastfeed. I'm like, I was real stickler for it because I breastfed my son for 9 months. And I was really like, I don't want her to have any formula. It must be breast milk, especially at the beginning. I just started crying. I was so upset. I was like, what do you mean she can't come with me? I don't understand. So where's she going? Hello, she needs her mom. So I was really, really upset. And then they were like, nobody even had time for me to be upset. They were like, mate, nobody wants you to, come and pass out here. Or you need to get an ambulance. So I don't know, like I think my husband called my sister. It was just, everything was very quick. They put me on the stretcher. They're now wheeling me downstairs because they were taking me to a different hospital. I was in a private hospital and they were taking me to a public hospital. Right? So they now put me in the stretcher. We're downstairs and then I see my sister coming on the road and she's crying. And she's like, oh my God, Draco, it's okay. You're going to be fine, blah, blah, blah. And then they wanted to follow me to the hospital, but there was no point because they wouldn't let them in because of COVID. So they're telling me that they think something's wrong and they're thinking something's going to happen to her. And then my family can't come and see me and I can't take my new child. Okay, fine, no problem. So I get in the ambulance and I'm there with a midwife called Linda. Oh, she was just amazing, absolutely amazing. So I'm in this ambulance and, I'm still there chilling and, having a good time. And then the guys in the ambulance are telling me that, you don't even look like you're someone that's sick. It's amazing that your blood pressure is so, your heart rate is so high. So I'm just there laughing with them and all that kind of stuff. And we now finally get to the hospital. Where is it that I went to? Where's the name of the hospital? That's really going to piss me off. What's it? UCLH. Can you imagine? UCLH. Anyway. So get there and so you're now in this like A&E waiting area. So I'm there on the bed and my machine is beeping and just going off. And you can just see all the doctors walking past, and they walk past and they stop to see, because they're like, who is this chick whose thing is going off? They can see the heart rate because it's red, which is clearly not good. And I'm just there on my phone because I don't know what's going on. Then the doctor comes and talks to me, and she now says, okay, this is what's going on, blah, 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 blah. We're probably going to have to go back in. You have a hematoma. There's something there that's obviously not aiding your recovery. We need to go in, and there's a mass of blood from what we can see on the CT you had. From the CT you had at the Portland, and something, and we're probably gonna go back through the C-section scar and suck out and take out the hematoma or something. So I'll take out the mass of blood. And I was in so much pain. I've been in so much pain for days. I just started crying. I was like, I can't have any more surgery, please. Like, you can't go back through that same scar. That scar's painful. It's painful. What are you saying? Oh, my day. So I was upset. And she was like, oh, don't cry. In my head, I was like, what do you mean don't cry? Here, my heart rate is sky high. Nobody knows what's going on. There's stuff going on in my stomach, in my abdomen, in my uterus, or whatever. And you're telling me that I shouldn't cry. Of course I'm going to bloody cry. And my baby's not with me. Anyway, let me just fast forward. So they give me some meds. They put potassium in a drip, put magnesium in a drip, put antibiotics in a drip, just put many, many things in a drip, and they take me off to the ICU. Now, I pray, if you're watching this, that you never enter the ICU, because that place is gangster. Gangster. Shout out to all the nurses and everyone that helped me that day, because, man, I don't even know how to explain to you. That place is like, it's probably like the highest level of security in a hospital. When I say security, I don't really mean security. I mean, you're really being monitored. So I was hooked up to all these things, all these wires, and all you can hear around you in all the different rooms is beeping, because people there are like life or death. That's why, intensive care. And you have a doctor or a nurse assigned to you, like per person, which, if you know, with NHS hospitals, especially if you had a baby, that's not how it rolls. It's like, it's 10, however many patients to one person. So you have somebody who's literally just for you in case, and when they go on a break, somebody will come and say they're taking over that person's shift just for the hour or whatever. So anyway, I'm now in the ICU, and I'm just there, and the machine is beeping, 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 and the doctor comes. And so it's obviously cardiology department comes and talk about my heart and say I've gone into AF, and they say they're going to try this medication and see if it works. If it doesn't work, they're going to have to try something else. So they tried something, it didn't work. Then a few hours later, they tried something else called amiodarone or something. Yeah, and I think they gave me that for about 15 hours or 9 hours or something. They gave it to me for a while, and my heart rate went down. They took me off it to see how my heart would cope, and then they started giving me beta blockers or something. Anyway, everything kind of calmed down. Now, I just want to state at this point, I am still wearing a catheter. I still am not able to pee by myself, and I still haven't pooed. So my heart rate goes down, they give me the amiodarone, and I now feel like I have bowel movements. Now, in intensive care, people don't walk around because they are like on death's door. So I'm lying flat, and someone comes, and I'm like, I think I need to use the toilets. I think I need to do a number 2. And she's like, okay. And she comes and she brings a bedpan. Now, I don't even know what a bedpan is. It's a bowl for you to take a shit in. And I was like, I can't poo lying down. And she was like, oh, okay. That they have one of those. God, thank you. I just thank you. The chair that they roll, and then you can sit, and basically there's like a little bowl in it that you can take a dump in. So they bring the chair, and I am able to, it's very difficult to get off the bed and sit on the chair. And I'm now finally able to go. It was absolutely disgusting. It was just like days. I mean, from all the suppository, the enema they gave me, the lactulose, all the things they'd given me, so everything just finally came out. Oh, so I felt a little bit better. I still had my catheter in. Now, I don't know if you know, having a catheter in for now, 5-6 days? Walking around with like this thing dangling between your legs is very uncomfortable. Anyway, let me just cut this part because it's just a lot of stuff going on. So after that, so I'm in the ICU for 2 days, and thank God my heart rate goes down. And before they discharge me to put me in a different part of the hospital, because now I have to go to maternity to deal with what's going on over here. Now they've dealt with what's going on here in the meantime. Now we need to sort out all the other issues. The doctor comes and he says, we're talking about breastfeeding. He said, are you planning to breastfeed? I said, yes, that I've actually been trying to pump, or I need to pump, or whatever. And he was like, oh, okay, that he needs to find out because of the drug they gave me. So he now goes and he comes back and he says, oh, basically, you're not able to breastfeed for like 4 months or something because of the half-life of the drug that they gave me, or something before it leaves your system. I was like, what? Started crying again. I was just upset. I was like, what is this? Anyway, it turns out, because as time went on through the hospital, I spoke to many people and they told me it was if I'd have it for a certain amount of time, and I only had it for 9 hours. So I was able to breastfeed after 2 weeks or something like that. Anyway, so they now moved me to the COB ward, which is after you've like had your baby, or after you've had a C-section. That's the area you stay in to recover before you go to the maternity ward. So they moved me to that ward, and now they take out my catheter, which is the thing for the urine, so that I can go and do a wee. This is day 6. So they now take it out and I go and do a wee. I'm out able to wee. Yes. But what I'm drinking is not coming out. So if I've had like a liter of water, maybe a quarter of that would come out. Obviously not the whole thing's going to come out because your body's absorbing it, but like not that much comes out compared to whatever. So they do the whole thing in the space of 6 hours. I do wee again. It just feels very difficult to go. And they have this machine, which is really cool. And they can see how much water is left in your bladder or something. So they're like, it's not, something's going on. So they put the catheter back in. I mean, if I never see another catheter in my life, it can never be too soon. Anyway, same thing happens. I'm really bloated. So they put the catheter back in and the urine starts flowing again. So they just say, so the urologist comes in. That's somebody who specializes in, obviously, the urinary tract, the urethra, all those things, right? And he comes and he just says, you know what, leave it in so that when you're discharged, you leave it in for 5 more days, and then I should go to his office and then they will take it out and do a test and make sure I'm okay. So he said, okay. So he just said, just leave it in and let her heal properly and just figure out what else is going on in her body. Okay, cool. So what happens then? They move me to the maternity ward. Right? I know, like I'm thinking I'm now going to go to a maternity ward with everybody with children and babies crying, and I don't have a baby and I'm going to be sad. But, thankfully they bear that in mind and they take you to the ward where mothers have their babies in the NICU, which isn't great, but it's like where the babies are in intensive care or if they've been born prematurely. So the babies are not on the ward with them. They have to go down and see their kids, see their newborns. So I was like, okay, cool. That was better. So it wasn't like children were screaming or whatever. Anyway, so I'm there. They're giving me antibiotics and doctors are coming to see me every day. And, so they check my CPR level, which is like inflammatory, or just basically saying you have an infection. I have an infection. There's many, many things going on. So they do another scan, and what they tell me is that I have free-flowing liquid in my system and I have a hematoma, which is a mass of blood. But it's not like a blood clot. It's not thick. It's too thick to tap out with like I'm saying tap out. Like, it's too thick to like draw out with a needle or whatever. But it's not thick like a blood clot. So it's too thick to be taken out like that. So anyway, they tell me that there's a hematoma and it's bigger than my uterus, and I think my uterus has not shrunk back to its normal size because I just had a baby. So they said, well, that should just be reabsorbed back into the body. So they gave me the antibiotics over a few days, and my white blood cells, kind of the number goes down and I'm getting better. So they discharged me on my birthday, which is now like 8 days after I've given birth. So I go home and they discharge me in the evening, and I am still feeling a bit worse for wear, but I'm just happy to be home, happy to see my daughter, happy to see my son, happy to be home. And that was great. That was Wednesday evening. By Friday morning, I wake up with the temperature, sweating, and I'm like, I need to go back to the hospital. Something is clearly wrong. I go back to the hospital and I am admitted for another 6-7 days, right? My infection level has gone through the roof. The CPR level has gone through the roof. They admit me, I'm back on antibiotics, I'm back getting scans and all that kind of stuff. So now they scan me again and they say, okay, look, they don't want to go in surgically. They don't want to do surgery because I'm already having issues recovering from my last surgery. By the way, I'm still wearing this catheter. I just want to point this out. And so now they say, okay, you know what? There's fluid in her system. We don't know what it is. Is it urine? Is that why she's got an infection? So they go and they do what's it called? Is it a tap? It's not a tap. Basically, they give me local anesthetic into my stomach, near my belly button. They now put a tube in, and I can feel them putting the tube in. At this point, I had been poked and prodded. I had like, they couldn't even take blood at one point because it's like I'd been tapped out. Anyway, I'm sure these things, needles everywhere. So they now suck out the fluid. So I'm walking around with a bag for urine and a bag for some fluid. So I'm walking around with 2 bags at this point. I need to go have a shower. I'm walking around. I have to have a shower with these bags. It was so, the whole thing was just draining. A drain! It's called a drain. So they drained the fluid. They tested the fluid. It wasn't urine, thank God, which meant that there'd be something wrong with the bladder. Anyway, so they didn't know what it was. Then they went and then they checked my bladder, where they put all this liquid up into the bladder and to see if it's gonna, and some dye, and then to see if it's gonna leak out into your body. It doesn't, so my bladder's fine. And they're just like, okay, man, we just have to watch and see what's going on, but your organs seem to be fine. So anyway, long and short of the story is they release me after 2 weeks. So I'm in hospital for 2 weeks after I give birth, and I go home and I feel much better. I still look like I'm pregnant, like heavily pregnant, because every time I get in a taxi, the cab driver is like, oh, congratulations on your pregnancy. You look great. And I'm thinking, thanks. I finally come home and guys, I kid you not, this is week 11 postpartum. I am still seeing the doctor. Next week, I have to go because I had to see a liver specialist. I had to obviously check my bladder. Even a few weeks ago, I started having pain on one side. I still have free-flowing liquid. At that point, I still had free-flowing liquid. The good thing is that when I had my last scan, the hematoma, which is the mass of blood, had shrunk considerably. It had really, really shrunk. So that was good. So now we're just praying that the free-flowing liquid, which I don't even know what that is shrinking as well. So I'm going back to see the liver specialist next week. I'm going to have a scan. And by the grace of God, all will be well. Because I've never seen so many doctors, seen so many specialists, I've never recounted a story so many times, because with each doctor who was on their shift, I would have to say, oh, this is what's going on, that's what's going on. So, yeah, it has been, I won't lie, the first 4 weeks were pretty difficult. And there's something that I want to say. God is good all the time. All the time. Like all the time. Even in your darkest moments. So for anyone out there that is going through anything, man, turn to your maker, because I'll tell you, when I came home on my birthday and I had like a day before I went back into the hospital, I'm not gonna lie, I woke up, I was scared to sleep one night because I thought I wasn't gonna wake up. Like, I thought I wasn't gonna wake up because of the whole heart thing. Oh, sorry, that's even another thing. After that, I had to go see a cardiologist, monitor my heart for 2 weeks to make sure that it was just a one-off that happened with the hearts. I was scared that I wasn't gonna wake up and I wasn't gonna raise my children, and I know that that's not my portion. I know that I'm going to see my children's children. I'm going to see my children graduate. I'm going to see them get married. I'm going to see my children live long lives. I'm going to see my children. I'm going to celebrate my children. Sorry, battery died. Anyway, yeah, so I just know that it was very, very scary. I also had to see a cardiologist afterwards because the heart thing basically happened. They said that when you've had a difficult delivery or when your body's working overtime, your heart and your liver work the hardest. So basically it was a one-off, but my heart went to overdrive and basically was doing some erratic things, which, like, the guy when I was in ICU said to me, when I was crying about amiodarone and not being able to breastfeed, he was like, well, honestly, my dear, let's put things in perspective. This drug saved your life, because this could have been a different story. But that is not my portion, never my portion. So I'm just saying that it was a hard thing to go through. And that time when I first came back, I found it really difficult to sleep because I think I was really scared. I was really scared that something was going to happen to me and I wasn't going to see my children. And I was just like, is it like this? Is it like this that this is going to happen? Nah. Nabi, not me. Not this. It's not 2020. I'm going to make it through 2020 and 2040, 2060. That's right. So anyway, that's my delivery story. Yeah, so I like I said, I don't want anyone to get scared. It was just an experience. It was an awful experience, but it was also an enlightening experience because, guys, there was someone on my ward. Like, when you're on a ward for 2 weeks, you hear so many people's different stories, so many women, what they're going through. There was a lady who, I'm not going to say what was wrong with her child, but I was sitting there praising God for my own circumstance. That's what I was doing. In all the whole hematoma, free-flowing fluid, afibrillation of the heart, all that kind of stuff. I was praising God because I was like, what? Man, it could be worse. It could be worse. My child was at home, healthy and fine. Sorry, when I went back into the hospital, after I got discharged and I had to go back because I wasn't well again, they let me bring my daughter at that point. But it was still difficult because no one could visit you because of COVID. But I was allowed to bring my daughter because they said it was very good for bonding. And I was well enough to take care of her. The first 6 days when I was in ICU and on the recovery unit, I wasn't able to take care of her. So after that, I was able to take care of her and all that kind of stuff. So you know what? I know no matter how bad it is, I'm not saying compare yourself to someone else and be relieved. But child, like, I mean, when I was on that ward and the stuff I could hear and people I'd speak to, I was like, I'm okay. I'm okay. God has got me. And I'm just so thankful. I'm so blessed. I'm finally back home. I'm able to do all the normal things, like back driving. I can take my son to nursery, play with my daughter, take care of her. And I'm so good. I'm good. I'm good. Everything is good. Everything is great. Everything's perfect. So that's it. That's my delivery story. I told you it was going to be a long one. Hope you guys are all well. Please put your comments down below. I would like to know your delivery stories as well. And if you're pregnant, shout out and good luck with your deliveries. And I hope you have a smooth sailing pregnancy and a delivery. God bless you guys and speak soon. Take care. Bye.